contract or any other agreement to control access to such property.
One final question.
Yes, sir.
If there were I guess we get into, isn't it true we get into a situation where what law supersedes what law if we talk about municipal ordinances or county ordinances? So if the people or the stockholders of the city of Atlanta, through their elected representatives, wanted to pass, along with the CAB, to pass a rule on the Metropolitan Regional Transportation System, Metropolitan Atlanta Regional Transportation System, could they do so, in your opinion? So, because they own the system?
No, sir, I don't believe they could.
Because state law supersedes?
That, and I think you'd probably get into an issue of private property as opposed to public property. If there are no further questions, Mr. President.
Senator from the 39th has a question. May not have that opportunity.
Good question or two. Will the Senator yield?
Yes, sir.
On this question of people with permits carrying weapons in restaurants, and if they were to drink, and let me be, if the Senator will yield,
yes, sir.
If they drink an alcoholic beverage, they would be in violation of the law. Is that correct?
That is true, yes, sir.
Okay. If the Senator will further yield, how would that be enforced? How in the world would we enforce that? How, until, heaven forbid, a situation arises where the weapon is used, how would law enforcement be able to enforce that part of the law?
Well, sir, we have a difficult time actually establishing what the law will be, much less deciding how to enforce it. So I'm not sure I could give you an accurate answer to that question.
Will the Senator further yield?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think it's our responsibility as legislators to take that into consideration, to at least give some thought as to how our law enforcement, who are overwhelmed even as we speak, how they're going to do their job in a situation that could be volatile and explosive?
Well, you describe it as volatile and explosive, and I would just point you to the fact that I believe we're one of only a dozen, maybe 13 states in the United States that has this prohibition, and the description of what you say hypothetically could occur is not occurring in those states that don't have this prohibition. So I just find it hard to there's not evidence to suggest what you are saying is going to happen has happened in places where there's no prohibition.
With all due respect to the Senator will yield, I do think it is not out of bounds for us to consider how law enforcement would enforce the things we pass. But beyond that, if you will yield, let me go on to the public transportation thing. And I know you've been down there. I know it's late hour. But if the Senator will yield, if you have taken MARTA to the airport, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, you know that from the MARTA exit to the airport is really about 20 steps. So we could have the scenario, and I know this is hypothetical, but hypotheticals give us an idea of how we act. You will have people walking out of MARTA, pack and heat, 20 steps to the airport, where I assume they would be prohibited from carrying a firearm. How, at that point, would we enforce the prohibition for that this bill would allow for that airport?
Well, you can carry a firearm to an airport because you can transport a firearm on an airplane. So just because the license holder has a firearm doesn't necessarily mean they're in violation of the law.
Okay. So if the Senator will yield,
yes,
you feel comfortable in this post 9/11 era, people packing heat on a MARTA train, riding into the airport, going into the atrium, and potentially going into the security lines with a weapon, with a firearm.
Well, when you say people, Senator, I think we need to differentiate between what I believe you're alluding to would be the general public who's not covered in this bill, as opposed to the people that are specified in this bill, which are firearms license holders, again, representing 3% of our state population and people that have gone through extensive background checks and people who historically do not violate the law. Now, someone who is intent on committing a crime with a firearm does not care what this says or any other law book we have. This is only to allow people who have already proven themselves to be law-abiding citizens to exercise a right guaranteed to them under the Constitution to protect themselves. Mr. President, I will gladly yield the well. I think we've talked about this.
Senator from the 19th is recognized. What purpose you rise?
Mr. President, it's late on the 40th day. I would move the previous question.
Senator has moved the previous question, and who objected? Senator from the 33rd objected. All those in favor? Rise, stand, and be counted for the previous question. State your inquiry, Senator from the 33rd.
Does this not have the effect of one person asking for approval of a conference committee and totally cutting off any debate at all from an opposing view? Is that right?
No, the senator has great passion for which he speaks. Reverse. On the motion from the senator from the 19th on the previous question, the yeas are 30 and the nays are 17, and the motion has passed. The senator from the 21st, clear my screen, please. Senator from the 21st has moved to adopt the conference committee report of House Bill 89. All of those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. And the secretary unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 40 and the nays are 15. And the Senate has adopted the conference committee report. Chair recognizes Senator from the 49th, 49th.
I rise to ask for House Bill 367 to be taken off the table. Is
there objection? Chair hears none, and it is taken off the table. Read the caption.
House Bill 367, Representative McCarter of the 159th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 5, Chapter 4, Title 26 of the OCGA relating to prescription drugs and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Health and Human Services Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 367. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 24, Title 33 of the OCGA relating to insurance, general, and for other purposes. Senator Hawkins of the 49th offers the following amendment number 1 to amend House Bill 367 by inserting after created and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 49th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak to House Bill 367,